Hey y'all, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and today I'm going to do a lens review on this 50mm f1.4 pre-AI Nikon lens. Let's do this. This is the lens I picked up while I was in Morristown, Tennessee. We was at Castle. We decided we'd see if we could find a camera shop. We found one here in Morristown. This one. They had a whole bunch of vintage lenses in a display case, and it was for a real reasonable amount of money. I think I paid $60 for it. It's a pre-AI lens, and what that means is it's not auto-indexing. On the back of a Nikon lens right here, there should be a little shelf, and what that does is that allows you to put it on a more modern camera, and when you lock it, there's a feeler on the camera body that detects that little protrusion, and it tells the camera what the aperture is set on. There's a manual lens section in a Nikon camera where you can enter lens data for your non-CPU lenses. There we go. That detects the aperture, and you tell it it's a f1.4. Well, then it knows what aperture you've set it on. That's what it's for. Well, this lens doesn't have that. It doesn't have the AIS notch milled in it. There's a little pocket here for a plunger in the cameras that detects if it's an AIS lens. But that don't matter because I'm shooting it on my Fuji X-T3 with a Photo-C Nikon bayonet to Fuji bayonet adapter. That's all it is. And it fits perfectly on the Fuji. And I just use the manual aperture control, so the camera doesn't care, is what it boils down to. This lens on this camera produces exquisite photos. Let's look at a few. As you can see, I was shooting wide open a lot, and in street photography, you really don't want to shoot wide open all that much. If you shoot wide open, what happens is you miss focus a lot. That's why you see a lot of street photographers drop it to f8. And that way they get a really wide depth of field, and they have a better hit ratio, you might say, of getting in focus shots. So I was shooting at f1.4 because I wanted to play with the lens at its widest aperture and where these lenses typically have their worst artifacts. I found on a crop sensor camera, this lens produces really beautiful photos. Oh, I don't know what that was. The puppy is out on the porch playing with his toys right behind the camera. With this lens on the X-T3, this equates to like 77mm or something, or 72, whatever. It's 75, right in there, because you know you got the crop factor thing. Is the equivalent. So once you crop it down, that's what a full frame lens would be like. Long story short, it's a little long for normal street use, but I kind of like this focal length. It works out really good to me. When I run the kit lens on the X-T3, I tend to run it racked out a lot of the time at 55mm. For some reason, I just like longer focal length. I'm just that guy. This lens works really well. It has a long focus throw. It focuses from basically about 14 inches. And let's see here, there's one half turn. It's a little over a half a revolution. Yeah, from minimum to maximum. Looks like it's about 200 degrees, 210 degrees focus throw. So it has really fine focus. That's really nice. The focus is buttery smooth. It has a nice focus ring with a rubberized texture on it. I looked up the serial number of this lens. There's a website that documents Nikon lenses by serial number, and this lens was made in 1975. I think it has a coated front and rear element. It doesn't have any AI information. Like I said, it's not a CPU lens at all. It has a nice aperture ring. Nice positive clicks, and they stop pronouncedly in location. They're one stop increments, 1.4 to 2, 2, 8, 4, 5, 6, 8, 11, 16, yeah, whole stop increments. There's no half stops on this one. It has focus scales built into it for f4, f8, f11, and f16. That's the colored focus scales for your hyperfocal distance or your focus ranging. you know, setting focus traps, things like that. And that's it. It's made of metal, well machined, like all Nikon equipment is. It's just a beautiful piece of equipment that works exceptionally well. Adapted to the X-T3, it's a beautiful complement to this camera. It would do wonderful portraits, as I show in a few of them, and the background bokeh is phenomenal. If you want, you know, I was playing with it at f1.4 just to get that blurred out or those blown out rear Christmas light colors, because we was up in Gatlinburg, and as you can see at f1.4, and she was about 4 or 5 feet away from me, and those lights were way back there. You can turn those into literally colored dots. It's beautiful. And the regular bokeh, you know, when it's not like reaching across the parking lot and picking up spots of light, is beautiful. Beautiful creamy bokeh. It's just a wonderful lens. So if you can pick one of these up and you like running old manual lenses, this lens is a winner. For this camera, it does beautiful. It doesn't have real bad artifacting when you point it at the sun, like some of the other ones I've reviewed, but it does have a little. There's a little bit there. And I'm sure that there would be distortion in the corners and stuff if I was on a full frame camera, but since I'm on a crop center camera, I'm cutting that out anyway, so you can't really see anything like that. All the photos I've taken with it have looked great, other than when I've missed focus. That's it. So with that, this is David, the Georgia photographer. And if you like the video, I'd appreciate the thumbs up. And, you know, there's the subscribe buttons down there and all that jazz. Until next time, get your camera out and go take a picture with it. And I appreciate you guys watching. Y'all take care.